Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. We're glad you decided to check us out. God has a specific message of hope for your life and mine today. So listen up.
Meet Billy. In 5 years, Billy will have spent 605 days sleeping and 2.5 full days brushing his teeth, hopefully. He will have sat in traffic for 9 full days. Billy hates traffic. And in 5 years, he will have spent 433 days working. Social media will have taken up 152 consecutive days of his life. He will have walked 3,650 miles and spoken 29.2 million words, hopefully good ones. In 5 years, Billy will have spent 76 days eating and drinking. Billy loves dessert. 2.5 years out of the 5 will be spent consuming media, with 228 days spent watching TV. Billy is messy. He will have spent 152 days cleaning. And in 5 years, he will have spent roughly $40,000 on food, 40 days shopping, and 50 days socializing with the homies. Welcome to you in 5 years.
You know, this week has been interesting for me, starting the fast and stuff like that. I tell you what I did and what God led me to is actually to do 3 different. I'm doing a week of each fast is what I'm doing this week. Last week was a meal. It was very difficult because I was going to hide it from my family and not let them know, so I've been sneaking out at certain times and stuff like that. Not that you have to. I don't know. I just felt like doing that. This week is going to be tougher. You say, tougher than food? Really? I say, this week is Netflix. Starting tomorrow, no Netflix for Jim. And they just released a couple of shows that I want to watch. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. But that's next week, and we'll be going from there. I hope that you, as you continue through your fast, and if you haven't started, if you didn't find out about the day, don't feel like you've missed anything. Start tomorrow. Go home, ask the Lord, what would you like for me to give up? What fasting is, we talked about last week, is some form of self-gratification. That could be a meal, it could be Netflix, it could be a hobby, it could be something you do, but something that is enjoyable to you. And give that up and take the time and energy you would put into that and spend that time in prayer for God, with God, and reading His Word. That's what that's about. It's not about giving up something we hate to do. I'm just not going to work this week, I'm not going to be nice to people this week, or I'm not going to be nice to that dude this week. I'm going to fast from being nice to that dude. No, that's not what it's about. And we talked about last week what it is when the child looks at the gift that God has given and says, you know what? That's great, but I like you more. That's kind of what we're doing when we're fasting. And we're starting a series this week. I think it's great to lead into this. I'm excited about it. We're starting a series, You in 5 years, right now. And a lot of times we don't think about that. Sometimes, if I were to look at you and somebody looks at you and goes, where are you going to be in 5 years? You guys are probably more like this. When someone asks you where you see yourself in 5 years, buddy, I'm just trying to make it to Friday. Some of y'all may be thinking that. What are you talking about 5 years, Jim? What are you doing 5 years? I don't even know where I'm going to be in 5 years. Why 5 years? Well, I'm going to tell you why this is a big deal. Because 5 years is a powerful, powerful amount of time. Let me tell you a story. When I was in 1992, I graduated from college. Well, I finished my coursework in 92, but in the summer, I was on summer missions. And I remember being at a church, and they asked me, hey, Jim, we've shot some video. They were doing this thing with the students where they go to their messy rooms and shoot video when they're not there and then come show it at youth group. I don't know how spiritual that is, but we're doing it anyway. It's fun. I don't care. But so we did that. Well, I didn't shoot the video. They gave it to me and said, hey, because I was a summer missionary and I was traveling around to different churches in Florida. And they said, hey, Jim, why don't you put some music under this video with the VCR? And I was like, say what? And I remember trying to do that and working so hard and then finally having just to give up because I could not find a way to put music under this foreign concept of video. Now, 5 years later, I was editing a weekly TV program on a major national Christian network in one of the biggest media markets in the United States. 5 years later. 5 years can change your life. 5 years is a huge amount of time. I want to talk about some things you could do in 5 years. Of course, like Dan, you could do like me. You could have a brand new skill that you never thought would be possible at all in 5 years. You know, you could have a college degree in 5 years. Not me, it took me 6 1/4, but that's okay. But you guys, I know you could do it. You know, you could do 5 years. You know, 5 years, you have a college degree. You realize that the average reader, reads about a page. Now, I'm not talking about the tiny print, but in a regular book, and it reads a page about every 2 minutes. Okay, so if you read 30 minutes a day, you could read 15 pages a day, okay? In 5 years, that would be almost 10,000 pages. 10,000 pages. And if you consider 200 books, 200 pages is about the average size of a book. You could read 10 a year. That would be 50 books. How many people out there say, I've never read a book in my life? 30 minutes a day, you could read 50 in the next 5 years. Think about the most impactful book that you've ever read, something that maybe you read one and it changed your life. Imagine having that happen 50 times over the next 5 years. There's no telling what God could do in your life through that. You think, oh, I don't have any money. All right, let me put it this way. If you were to put aside $1 a day, $1 a day, right? You know, cut out the Coke, put $1 a day in a jar. If you did that for a year, you would have almost $2,000 in the jar. Wow. You want to lose weight? Let me put this at you. If you could lose half a pound a week, so every 2 weeks, you're 1 pound less. Every 2 weeks, 1 pound less, all right? Half a pound a week. In 1 year, that's 26 pounds. In 5, you lost a whole person. You're wondering where she went. I mean, yeah, that's what you're looking at. It's amazing what you can do in 5 years. You know, if you could radically transform your soul. You really could. I mean, you think about it. Imagine if you could read the Bible through 5 times. I just traded over one of my goals. One of the things I did, I shared with the staff last week. We look back and look at the goals that things we did last year. One of the things I did, I transferred over to a new Bible reading plan. You know, and it's different. You know, it's different for me. It's our one-on-one with God study that we do. I've started using that Bible reading plan rather than mine, which was a lot slower paced. And it's great. It's great. It's amazing. Here's the commitment that I made myself this last year. I'm not getting out of bed before I'm reading the Bible. So when I wake up, well, I take it back. I did have to change that because when I wake up, I have to go get Anne-Marie up or she's not going to make it to the bus. So, okay, or make it to Rachel or whatever. So, but I come right back, right in the Word. You know, in the days that I don't have to get her there, it's to the Word first. And what I do is I go through that Bible reading plan before I even get out of the bed in the morning. You know, and I've been doing that. You could imagine if you memorized 1 verse a week. Which one? You can pick short ones. I'm not talking about complicated ones with a bunch of biblical names, Hizites and Perizzites and all that stuff. You don't even have to worry about that. If you picked one in a year, you would know 52 Bible verses. Somebody with math skills, tell me how many is that in 5? 260? Yeah. 260 in 5 years. 260. You know, there are a lot of books in the Bible that aren't 260 verses. You could know an entire book in the Bible from memory, just boom, you know. Do you know anybody that does that? I think Steve probably could, I'm going to guess. But, you know, that's what I'm saying with you. But I'm just saying, I can't do that. I memorized a chapter one time, and I thought I was awesome. You know, it's like 8 verses. I mean, whoopity-doo, you know. You could have a whole book in 5 years. Those are positive things that could happen. Here's the other side of it. 5 years is powerful. You could have some real negative things happen in your life in 5 years. I mean, think about it. You could go through a very messy divorce. And in 5 years, after 5 years of neglecting your spouse, you could partially serve a prison sentence in 5 years. You do the wrong thing. You know, when you get out of prison, you know, you could get majorly addicted to a drug. That could radically change your life. You could work 5 or 6 jobs and put that on a resume. You could create a mountain of credit card debt. Let me tell you this blew my mind. If you smoke 1 pack of cigarettes a day, in 5 years, you will have smoked 36,500 cigarettes. Almost 40,000 cigarettes. Wow, there's a lot of things. Imagine the impact of that going in and out of your body. Wow. 5 years is a powerful, powerful thing. But what if we went back and used it for the best? What if we sought God and said, God, I want you to do something radical. I want you to change my life. I want you to do something in my life in the next 5 years. What do you want to, and go to him and say, what do you want me to do in the next 5 years? I think God knew how powerful time was. And there's a place in the scriptures in Ephesians chapter 5 that I want us to read through, just 3 verses. We'll start at verse 15. If you've got your Bible, you can turn to it. If you have your smart device, it's totally okay to pull out the phone and do your Bible. That's what I read in my Bible in the morning before I get out of the bed. It's my phone. I reach over, grab it. I've got a browser that's always perpetually open to my reading plan, and then I go right over to my Brown Bible app, and that's where I go with that. But you can roll your scroll. I don't care if you're on Facebook Live watching us. You can look on, if you go on our Facebook page, there's actually a link there that says you can click that on and you can pull up YouVersion, which has all of these scriptures there. You can read it however you do. Read the Bible. Okay, let's don't quibble about the cool way to do it or not. Let's just do it and see what God does in our lives. But we're going to start here in verse 15. It says, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. Now, when you see something that says be very careful in the scripture, you got to realize God told somebody to write that, so God thinks it's important to be very careful with it. So how you live is important, okay? A lot of times we have something in our society, we've let creep into our church culture at times that if we show up at church, we can leave and do whatever we want. I'm telling you, God says differently. He says, be careful how you live. Be very careful how you live. Well, here's the thing. If he says be careful with something, 2 things can happen with this. One, you're dealing with something very valuable. No reason to be careful with something that you don't care about, that doesn't make any difference. So you're dealing with something very valuable or something very delicate, and also something can go wrong with that if you're not careful with it. When you carry china from one room to another, Katie's got this china that was hand-painted by her grandmother. I always freak out when we have to pick up one of those pieces. I never tell you this, but I'm always, I don't want to be the one that dropped it. Because it's her grandmother, and it's really important, and it's delicate, so I don't want to hit it on anything. It's also, very valuable, and something could go wrong because for some you guys get my age and all of a sudden just like you're just walking along and your hand just goes and just does something and you don't know what it is, and why is that? It could happen. And I'm like I said something to my mama one time back when she was alive, and she said, oh, Jim, it gets worse. I'm like, thanks very much for the encouragement. Be walking down the street and just pop some guy in the face and then beat me up or something. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Anyway, it could happen with you. You don't want something bad to happen with something that is valuable. But it's not just anything, it's how you live. Be very careful then how you live. It's not a threat or a promise, but it's a warning. Look, be careful. Dude, you got something valuable, you got something delicate, you need to take care with how you do that. It's about how you conduct and how you construct your life. That's what that's about. How you live is about the actions that you take, the choices that you make, the building, the construction that you build to activate and to work inside your own life, the time that God has given you, the career you choose, the way you set up your home. What are the values that you feel like are important that you give your energy to? We have to be valuable and why. We have to realize that our time and our life is valuable and be careful with how we live. What structure do you build into your life? What habits, what schedules, what scenarios have you built into your life? How do you operate within that structure? What are you building? What are you building today? Not only that, we go to verse 16. It says, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. It says, making the most of every opportunity. Before I've said, that we act like we misread this verse often. Sometimes I think in our culture, it's like we think it says make the most opportunities. And we try 1,000 things. And we never give our, how many feels like, have you ever found one thing that you have given your all to forever and just poured your heart into that opportunity? I don't think I've ever had anything in my life that I could honestly say that I gave 100% of everything I am to that one opportunity. And it hit me reading this verse. God said, look, make the most of every opportunity. Don't try 1,000 things. The one thing I give you, give it everything you have, because I have stuff in there for you, stuff for you to grasp. Most of us concerned, we're constantly looking for more opportunities. We get bored with the opportunity we have. We get in the grind. There's the new stage, and then there's the grind stage. You get past the new stage, and then there's the grind, where everything's not new anymore, and you're like, well, I'd rather just go buy a new shirt. You know what I mean? It's that new shirt philosophy. I don't like the shirt that I have. It's not any different than it was. It's just the new is worn off, and I'd like to go get another one. We get into that mode. But here's the thing. My wife, Lord love her, we have a difference on peanut butter. I'm just going to tell you, it's serious. We have a serious conflict about how we handle peanut butter. I don't know if you're like me, but when it gets down to where I can see through the plastic, I'm done with the peanut butter. If I can see through it, okay, we're done. Because there's nothing better than jamming that knife down into like a wad of it. I hate that sound it makes when you scrape it up against, you're trying to get it out. I don't even want to do that. Look, I'm a grown man. I work hard. I could throw that much peanut butter away, but not with my wife. You know what my wife has? She has this white spatula. Yes, there you go. There you go. You know, a white rubber spatula. And she will dive across the trash can to stop me from throwing the peanut butter jar away. You know why? Because she's going to take that rubber spatula and she will get 75 sandwiches out of that thing. I don't know how, but she does it. I turn around in a minute and they're stacked up on the counter and she's freezing them to give to the kids. I don't get it. You see, that's what God, but it hit me. That's what God's trying to say about the opportunities in our life. I want you to make the most of it. I want you to take, when it gets boring and you can see through it and you'd rather move to the next thing, I want you to take that doggone spatula and I want you to jam it down in it. I want you to scrape every little bit out of it because it's valuable. I want you to know something. God does not give you anything that is not valuable. And if he gave you an opportunity, there's stuff down in the bottom of that jar that you need to live, that you will be proud you found, that you will be glad you had. I am telling you, take the spatula and get everything out of it. Make the most of every opportunity. I love in the King James, it talks about this. It uses the phrase, it doesn't translate it, make the most of every opportunity. It says, redeem the time. Both of them are accurate, but they have different nuances in the translation, and I love it. Redeem the time. What do you realize? Every time you take money or something, or you have a check, you are redeeming something of value. It's talking about currency. Do you realize time is currency? God is giving you something extremely, extremely valuable. He's giving you something to redeem. If you can redeem something, it means it's worth something. And when he's saying redeem that time, he's saying, I am giving you time. I am giving you time. Every second there is a moment. And God is saying, I'm giving you value. And I don't care if you can hear. I don't care if you know, if you are alive. Every second that you have is valuable. And God is packing that with things for you and I. It is extremely important. Be careful how you live. Make the most of every opportunity. Redeem this valuable currency of time, because there's three things you're going to do with time. There's three things you're going to do with, whether you make the choice to or not. That's going to happen with the time you've been given. The first thing is you go spend the time. You know what spending is? Spending the time is like this. I go out and I watch a movie. I'm not saying watching movies are bad, but it's kind of like I do something and then it's done and it's kind of over. You ever done those things? You watch a movie, yeah, okay, I watched the movie. It was good 2 hours, okay? That was great. You may tell somebody else about it. You might post on Facebook about it. You may put up an Instagram of yourself. I don't know what you do outside the movie theater. I'm not sure. But once that's over, it's over. You spent time and it's done. The second thing you can do is you can waste time. You ever wasted time? I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of ways to waste time, but I'm going to tell you my frustratingly favorite way to waste time, and it happens to me a lot because I'm not very good with my hands, but when you jump into a project, and my wife, she wants to get me to do, you need to try to do this. I jump into a project, and I get into the middle of the project, and I realize it is way beyond my capability to do. Anybody ever gotten that project? You know what that project is. It's way beyond your capability. And you get in there, and you're like, oh no, I thought I could just do this. Well, I can't just do that because I got to do this and this and this. Oh, and I can't do that because I got to get this, and I've got to go buy that. And if I don't buy that, I'm going to have to buy this, and this is going to be, and I'm going to have to put that in the middle of it. And you finally get to the point you realize I can't do it, and I don't have enough money to pay anybody to do it. So what do? You just drop the project, and it just sits there forever. Some of y'all got cars in your garage that you're going to fix. And they've been there for 10 years and you ain't doing nothing with them. Let's just be honest. You ain't going to never do nothing with that because it's just too much. It's too much time. You can't, and it's too much. So what you have done, what I've done, I'm not going to say your car is a waste. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like at that moment that I put all this energy into something that's not going to get finished, I have wasted my time. Here's the third thing that you're going to do with your time. Here's the third thing that you can invest your time. See, when you spend time, it's a one-time thing. When you waste time, you don't really get anything from it. Maybe some experience. But, how many people just like, well, experience, not so hot, would like something what I was expecting. Not what you were expecting. But when you invest time, it's cool because there's something coming down the road from it. There's stuff that's coming back. Maybe you watched the movie, you enjoyed it, you told somebody, it's over. Investing time is different because investing time is doing things that will bring about a lasting or reverberating or continuating impact in your life and in the lives of others. It's about maximizing the time that you have. That's what investing does. It means something that you've done now that comes back later. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of the time, you and I, outside of following Christ, we don't understand when we've actually invested time. A lot of times we felt like we've invested time and it's been a bust. We don't have the sense to know that. I had a guy I've told you about before when I was in Beach Project. I just hung out with the dude. A Beach Project down in Fort Walton Beach back in college. We went down there, we worked at a job, we worked in churches and that type of stuff. And then part of the job, you got to know people, you shared Christ, the gospel with them, things like that. And I'm working, I didn't think I did anything, except, that's where I learned how to disciple people one-on-one with God, one-on-one. That's how I learned that. It's where Patrick first discipled me, but it was a year later in the fall. So it was in summer, and so go all the way a year, and then into the fall. I showed up at a worship service for Campus Outreach at my college, and a dude said that I didn't know, said, hey, are you Jim Campbell? I'm like, yeah. Did you go to Beach Project at... Yeah, I was back in 90, that's a long time ago, so I'm dating myself. But yeah, back there, and he said, well, you worked at Sandestin Winn-Dixie. I'm like, yeah. He said, and he told me this dude, this dude, I led him to Christ, and he mentioned you and talking about stuff with you. I felt like I hadn't led the dude to Christ. I didn't feel like I'd done anything spiritual, but somewhere God used that investment to do the payoff a year and a half later. And praise God that he directed that guy who I didn't know to share that with me so that I could know it. You don't know when you're investing time. That's the tough part. You think you are, and you may be wasting it. You think you are, and you may be spending it. You think you're going to go to that movie and you'll become a movie star. I don't know. Who knows? But you just don't know. We don't know. But here's the truth. What you spend in time today is buying what you'll end up with tomorrow. That's the truth. How you deal with this thing called time is the difference between the life you want and the life you get stuck with. There's a meme out on social media. I always love it. Hey, would you pop that up, Cheryl? I love that. It's like Kobe Bryant looking way away. It's like how your mom looked when your pastor says something about disobedient children. You're sitting over there and she's giving up. I'm talking about you. You got that. But I thought, as I was looking at that, I'm like, you know what? That is how we deal with life. Now, that frustrates you, right? You see your mom doing that, but I'm going to tell you something. The dude that's going to hurt you is not Kobe Bryant, weighs 5 or 6 people from you. The dude that would hurt you or help you, if you fell down, the dude that would catch you is the blurry dude right there in the front. It's looking intent and biting his lip, looking straight ahead. That dude, if somebody's dangerous to you that can get a hold of you, it's that dude. It's not Kobe Bryant over in the other way. It's not way down the future. And I think a lot of us, we look at our lives, we look at when I say 5 years, and we look at something way down there. I wish I could be that, but what you don't understand is what you're living and dying with is the guy that's blurry right beside you, the thing that's right in front of you, the time that you have right this second. That is what makes 5 years. So when I say 5 years, I'm talking about Friday, but I'm talking about right now. Part of it is getting you to Friday. We're talking about that. That's what the illustration says, because the you in 5 years is created by the choices of the next moment. You just made something about 5 years from now. Oh, you just did it again. Oh, you just did it again. God just gave it to you. Here's the thing about time. Here's the currency of time. It's given to you and it's immediately spent and then it's over. You got that? I don't get time to think about it. I get $1 in my wallet, I can make a choice. God gives me time and it's spent and it's gone and then it's a memory. It's a regret or it's an accomplishment. But somehow it's changed, that past now has changed my future. And if I'm not intentional with that time, my future will never be what God wanted it to be in me had I followed him and the blessings and all the things that God had for me. If I'm not intentional about it, I end up with unintended consequences. Here's the thing. Bear Bryant, who's, I'm an Alabama fan, and I know that you guys despise that. That's okay. But there are some good things, okay? There is a poem that I've heard him read several times, seen video of him reading, and he said it was a little sheet of paper that he carried around in his pocket every day, and I think, and when you get leaders that are great leaders like that, they have habits that are good. And it's a poem, it's called The Big Trade. And he would read it every day. Here's what it says. This is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will, and I can waste it or use it for good. What I do today is very important because I am exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, leaving something in its place that I have traded for it. I want it to be gain, not loss, good, not evil, success, not failure, in order that I shall not forget the price that I paid for it. Wow. Read that when you get up in the morning. Think about that on your drive to work. I'm trading something. I'm trading it for something. Dear Lord, let it be worth something. Why is this important? If you aren't intentional about the time you have, you'll create unintentional consequences because it will always be consumed. It will always be spent, wasted, or invested. Your choice is on what you do with it. And it's important. Why? Because the days are evil. It's important because the days are evil. Look, I'm telling you something. Every second, somebody's dying and going to hell. Every second, a marriage is breaking apart. Every second, somebody's losing hope, and they're losing their house, and they're ending up on the street. Every second, children are deciding to walk away. Somebody's not getting it. You don't know what's going on in the heart of other people, but God does. And God gave you this time to sit here and make a difference in the city that we're in the country that you're in the county that you're in the job that you're at, in the classroom that you're at, in the cubicle that you sit in, with the people and the vendors that you deal with. God gave you that time and time again, and he's pouring out this resource. He's saying, look, connect to me and I will show you impact like you've never seen. But if we don't understand and grasp the valuable currency that God is putting before us, we will miss the blessing and somebody else will pay for it. God has given you everything you need to accomplish everything you want to accomplish. How do we know what that is? Verse 17. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. The way you find out what you should spend that moment on is by eternally, every day, being focused on your relationship with Jesus, putting him first, asking him in the morning, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to change up the schedule today? Do you want me to go right or left at the end of the street? I don't know. Just tell me what you want. And then when he tells you and when he shows you in his word and when he tells you what to do it, man. Do it, lady. Do it. There is adventure and amazing, amazing blessing on the other side of yes, I will. And there's death on this side of no, I won't. What will you choose? Because this will be the life you wanted, or it'll be the life you're stuck with. But regardless, one way or the other, it is coming.
Thanks for being a part of Bay West today. Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. Please feel free to check us out at baywestchurch.org, or you can follow us on Facebook at Bay West Church.